Hey everybody, J-Man here. Let's talk about the Cosmic Warrior. So this is an independent comic released. It's written, created by John Delarose. I believe that's how you say his name. Now, I came across this through his channel on YouTube. Came up on my feed. I thought, what the heck? Thought he was talking about the comic, and he said it's kind of like a John Carter Green Lantern thing. Of course, I do like Green Lantern. But I love Sword and Planet stuff. I don't know. I just got across the Zodiac, which is one of the first ones. There's another one. There's a couple of books I just got, which are kind of the first two Sword and Planet things. I love John Carter. Obviously, I read the first 3 books by Edgar Rice Burroughs. They're friggin' awesome. I love this kind of stuff. Going on another planet, fighting. Anything fantasy related, like you guys have seen me review like Thongor and Lynn Carter and that kind of cool stuff. So I grabbed a digital copy because shipping to Canada is brutal. So this is a digital copy. It's a PDF. It's 72 pages long. And I think it's 3 issues if I remember correctly. So we're going to review this using my space system. So story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. Each category gets a score between 0 and 2. So 2 is the best that you can get in any category. If I give this a 10 out of 10, I'm not saying that this comic is better than Watchmen or that it's better than The Dark Knight Returns or something like that. I'm reviewing every comic book through its expectation level. So if you're buying an independent comic, it's not going to be Alex Ross on the cover, right? Like, so you got to review it based on that. So I typically may be a little bit easier on independent comics versus, Marvel, DC, or Image, but they have a lot more resources, right? So, but again, I'm going just by this comic book. This is the only thing I've read from this person. But it will not be the only thing I read going forward. That's for sure. I'll definitely check out some other things as well. So I also want to mention that I have no affiliation with anyone who created this comic. I bought this with my own money. It was a $10 PDF. I will put the link in the description should anyone want to grab this. I think you're going to want to grab it after after I talk about it. But it's 72 pages. I read it in one sitting. It was very, very exciting. So let's break it down. So for the storyline, I'm going to give it a perfect score of 2 out of 2. As I said, I do love Sword and Planet like stuff, and I really like fantasy stuff. Obviously, Conan's my favorite movie. I didn't think that John Carter movie was that bad. I thought it was kind of cool, actually. It was the John Carter movie was actually the first movie I reviewed on YouTube, though that video has been removed because it got tagged for, various things. So we have this pilot here, and I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but I do have to show you some of the art, and it's going to be off the iPad, so it is what it is. So we got this pilot here. He's one of the Blue Angels is what they're called, and doing some test flying, and poof, he disappears. They're like, Dan, what the heck? What happened to him? He's gone. So he poofs away. Now he gets transported to another planet. And you've got 2 factions on the planet. And we're going to be a little bit more in detail on this comic because it's not characters obviously. If I'm reviewing Superman or something, I don't need to talk about who Superman is. But this will be slightly longer, so bear with me, but I think it's important. So you've got factions on here. So you've got the Jolans, I think, or maybe Yolans. Like I've got Croatian background, so we would say Yolan. But Jolans and the Phobos is, I believe, the 2 names. So the Jolans are the blue guys, and the Phobos are the red guys. And I actually think that's bloody brilliant because I can very easily identify what faction I'm dealing with. So good job on that. They've got their little queen here. And she's like, well, I brought you here to be our champion. So there you go. And he's like, well, what the heck? I don't want to be this champion. Well, you're the champion. So he gets powers. Yes. He gets powers, fights in an arena, and whoever wins gets to have control of what's going on. There's 3 issues, so it's hard to talk about all of them without spoiling some aspect. But I mean, look, he's going to win. Right? Like he goes to the arena and he wins, right? If he loses, what's the point of the comic? So he wins. That pisses off the red guys, and they're like, well, F this Earthman and the place he came from. And that's sort of your basis of what's going on in these issues. We're going to talk about the pacing in a second. But look, this story, this isn't anything you've seen before, but I'm still giving it a 2 out of 2 score because I think it was handled in a very fun way. Again, I'm not ranking this against Edgar Rice Burroughs material. I'm not ranking this against, Lynn Carter or something like that. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is that they're presenting me this tale of this guy going to another planet. So now I have to evaluate how cool it was. The reason I'm giving it a 2 out of 2 for the storyline is that there was enough things happening that kind of put a little twist as we went along. So for example, you're like, oh, well, usually the gravity, like John Carter, he's got a little bit of he's got a little bit more power because of the gravity and he can jump and stuff like that. This guy just all out just gets powers and he gets like a magical weapon too. So like, that's cool. I like when guys get cool weapons too, like a Black Star or something, right? Or Thundar. They get like a cool sword or whatever. So he kind of took a lot of elements from all these other cool fantasy aspect things and kind of put them together. I think he did a very good job on that. For the pacing, and there's a little bit of a twist, not a twist, but in issue 3, they switched locations, which is kind of cool. So pacing, I'm going to give the pacing 2 out of 2. I have never read a 72-page comic in one sitting before. I had to take a quick break in between because I was just so hungry. I had to eat something, and then I immediately ate my food and immediately went back to it. And I'm very excited about that. That has not happened in a long time, especially not for independent comics. This is probably my favorite independent comic that I've ever read, to be honest with you. And again, I just want to stress I have no affiliation with anybody involved in this thing at all. This is just me paying with my own money. And if I think something sucks, you guys know I'll say it sucks, right? So pacing is 2 out of 2. There is a lot of action. And this, I find that the modern comics are such that they're dragging out certain story elements. This was so fast. I'm trying to figure out where issue 1 ends and begins. This is all one, and I have it on scroll, so I'm just scrolling through the PDF. So you start to lose track of what's issue 1 and what's issue 2. But like in issue 1, he lands on the planet, learns about the factions, gets his powers, and fights in the arena. That is really good. I mean, I'm so tired. If this was in sort of like, I'm not going to throw Marvel under the bus, but I got to throw it under the bus a little bit. If this was a Marvel comic, this issue 1 of this comic would have been like 3 issues of a Marvel comic, right? The first issue would have been him at home being a fighter pilot or whatever. And then it's like, at the very end, he gets transported. Then in issue 2, it would have been learning about the culture. Then in issue 3, it would have been him getting powers, right? They tend to drag stuff out. All of this happens, I'm pretty sure, in 1 issue, but I know for sure that all of this, 72 pages, is 3 issues. So everything I'm explaining is going to be in all 3 of these. So great job on pacing. Lots of action, not bored at all. Dialogue is fast. Artistry. For the art, I like the art. The art is always subjective and it's a little bit tough. I'm toying between giving it a 1 and a 1.5. I'm leaning towards a 1.5. I have a little bit of this is just a mind thing. Anytime I think of these sort of like Sword and Planet fantasy things, Frazetta comes to mind. My buddy Boris comes to mind. Norem comes to mind, and that's not here, which is fine, right? Or Joe Jusko, right? Like, I'm just so ingrained with that. So when I don't see that, I'd be like, ugh. So I think objectively, I'm going to give it a 1.5 for the art because the colors are amazing and the art is good. Like, there is a lot of cool stuff. I'm just like, it's a personal thing, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise. I've got that in my mind. These fantasy books have been my whole life. It's tough to disassociate that. I had the same problem with the Mighty Barbarians. I'm actually really liking Conan, the regular Conan series. I'm liking the art in that a lot, and I'm really liking Fire and Ice. I think those two are your top standards of these kinds of books. However, this is still really good. It does fit sort of the world that's being created here. I really like, yeah, good colors. It looks nice. Yeah, so awesome. I do want to mention my channel sponsor really quick, which is beardedshirts.com. Check this bad boy out. Legion of Superheroes, man. Double-sided print. So this is a print all over shirt. Bearded Shirts is my channel sponsor. If you sign up to become a Legionnaire, so if you sign up and join as a member, you're entered into a draw to win stuff from Bearded Shirts. They've got DC, Marvel, X-Men, a lot of X-Men stuff, lots of Batman stuff, Superman, Legion of Superheroes, of course. And you don't have to get a print all over. They also have just like, if you just want a logo, like Ultra Boy, you want Ultra Boy logo, boom, you can get that. So check them out in the link in the description below. The characters, gosh, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 2 for characters. I literally liked everybody in this comic. I'm a little bit shocked because now it is 3 issues and I'm very tough on issue 1, but if I was only evaluating issue 1, I already would have given it a 2 out of 2 for characters, because it's tough to get to know a character enough to really rate it if it's just one comic. Now this was 3 comics, so I'm very confident in my score of 2 out of 2. Like the Empress is cool. Dan is cool. He's really awesome because like he immediately, like within like a page or 2, he accepts the fact that, well, you know what, I'm here. Maybe it's some greater power that's brought me to this place and I'm supposed to be this champion. He accepts it. He immediately trains, gets powers, and is awesome. It's just done so perfectly for me. So you're right into the character. Like you like him immediately. And they've got the thing where he's got a girlfriend back home. And then when, you know, he's going to go home, something happens. You're like, oh, you know, right. So that's interesting. But yeah, I liked all the characters. Even the side characters, the villains look really cool. I can take this opportunity to talk about sort of maybe character design. I want to show, here's a good picture of Dan. This is a very, very cool classic design of your Sword and Planet hero. You gotta have a bare chest, right? If you don't have a bare chest, you've missed something. Okay, that's just, I don't care. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Or it might be an opinion, but it's kind of more of a fact though, really. I love this like, you know, Skeletor thing. I can't, it's not Skeletor, but I for whatever reason, I can zoom in. There you go. I love this, the little slashes here. I like this belt. I like having sections of armor. I'm also a fan of the one strap thing. It just looks cool to me. I like, now he's got it on his left. He's got the armor on his left, which is interesting. And you know what? I didn't check to see if he's a left-handed guy. I did not check that because later on he does get a weapon. So this was issue 3, I believe. Yeah. He gets a weapon here. Where the heck is it? So he's got powers, but then he also gets a weapon. Come on. Where the heck is it? He gets a sword, which looks pretty good as well. All right, well, as I scroll, I'll find it. I also like the design of these red guys. They look really cool. And the blue guys are awesome too, but the Phobos, the red guys, they're really neat. Oh no, maybe was this 4 issues? Maybe this was 4 issues. I thought it was 3, but it could be 4. Yeah, so here you go. So he is wielding it with his right hand. So yeah, characters 2 out of 2. Man, for the enjoyment factor, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 2. I'm gonna give this sucker a 9.5 out of 10. I'm so close to giving it a 10. You can call it a 10 if you want to. I just have that thing for the art where it's got to, I don't know. Check out the Conan comics. There's the current Conan, not the Marvel Conans, but the other Conans that's out right now, and Fire and Ice, and look at that. And that to me is what I envision when I think about these kinds of things. However, everything else is spot on. The art is not, I'm not saying the art is bad, but it's not what I want. So what are you gonna? I can only talk about what I personally like. But I absolutely loved this comic. I completely got this on a whim. I know a lot of people say they want to support independent comics. And as I was, you know, watching one of the videos and this guy talking about, you know, how it's like a John Carter thing, I thought, you know what, maybe I'll put my money where my mouth is and actually grab this. I've I've been recently getting into a few other independent comics, like Atrium I purchased. I backed issues 2 and 3 of that. But this was a very, very good comic. This is probably my favorite independent comic that I've ever read. I haven't read that many. You could probably, I don't know, it's probably like count maybe under 50 or something like that. So take that for what it's worth. I'm not reading a bunch of independent comics, but I've probably read like maybe like 50 or something in my life. So there you go. But I really enjoyed it. I will definitely get the next issue if there is an issue. I'm not sure how they're collecting these, but I'll put the link to the website in the description if you're interested. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. If you like my space rating system, then like this video, subscribe, all that stuff. Let me know, did you guys pick this up? If you've read anything else from John, let me know what do you think is a cool thing to check out. That is it, everybody. Until next time.